The story is set thousands of years ago, in a time when indigenous tribes thrived in North America. As humans built larger ships capable of crossing vast oceans, explorers began traveling to new lands, seeking to conquer and claim territories for themselves. One fateful day, the first British ship docked on the shores of North America, carrying Viking warriors from distant lands. The Vikings, fierce and ruthless, attacked the native tribes, brutally defeating them in a quest to seize their lands. Among this first wave of conquerors was the clan's leader, accompanied by his young son. During one of these raids, the Viking leader handed his son a sword and commanded him to kill a local child. But the boy, overcome with guilt in the sense that this act was wrong, could not follow through. Furious at his son's defiance, the Viking leader whipped him. Terrified and humiliated, the boy fled back to the ship. Meanwhile, the native tribes fought back fiercely, killing all the invading Vikings. Only the leader's son survived, now alone in a foreign and hostile land. Elsewhere, a North American woman, part of a nearby tribe, receives a vision of a white horse. In her culture, the appearance of a white horse is a dire omen, symbolizing the arrival of great evil. It is said that demons will come from across the sea to attack their homeland. Driven by fear and intuition, she races to the shoreline. There, she witnesses a massive ship for the first time in her life. Curiosity leads her aboard, where she discovers the Viking leader's son, hiding in fear. Startled, he raises his sword defensively, but the woman recognizes his terror and soothes him. Instead of treating him as an enemy, she offers kindness and brings the frightened child back to her tribe. The woman wishes to adopt the child, but the rest of the tribe strongly opposes her decision. Despite their objections, she remains determined and finally convinces them to let her raise him. The tribe names the boy Ghost because his pale skin sets him apart from their own. Time passes, and 15 years later, Ghost has grown into a young man. Though accepted as part of the tribe, he feels a deep need to prove himself as a true warrior. He knows that to earn this honor, he must accomplish something great. Nearby, another tribe lives high in the mountains. The two tribes share a strong bond and live in harmony. The mountain tribe's leader, renowned for his unparalleled skill in navigating dangerous terrain, is called Pathfinder. Pathfinder's daughter, Starfire, is admired by many, including Ghost, who harbors feelings for her. However, a young warrior from Pathfinder's tribe also has feelings for Starfire and resents Ghost's presence. Knowing Ghost's affection for her, he treats Ghost coldly and never speaks to him kindly. One evening, the tribes gather for a special event, a competition of skill and strength. The winner will earn the honor of becoming the next Pathfinder. Ghost longs to participate, but he is forbidden, as many still consider him an outsider. This exclusion stings deeply. He still keeps the sword he was given as a child, a relic of his past. But for 15 years, no ship has ever returned to their shores. Determined to find his own path, Ghost sets out the next day to hunt in the forest. However, fate intervenes. On this very day, after so many years, a massive ship appears on the horizon. Vikings disembark once more, bringing terror and destruction with them. From a vantage point on the mountain, Ghost watches in horror as flames consume his village. The Vikings slaughter his tribe mercilessly. Desperately, Ghost races back. But by the time he arrives, most of his people have already been killed. The nightmare of his past has returned, and the Vikings are far from finished. The Viking leader spots Ghost and sends a warrior to kill him. Ghost fights fiercely, managing to slay the Viking and seize his shield. Knowing he can't confront the entire horde alone, he sprints toward the forest. His intimate knowledge of the terrain becomes his greatest weapon. Ghost finds a hidden spot and uses the forest's cover to his advantage, ambushing and outwitting his pursuers. Though he is injured during the battle, he escapes, leaving a trail of fallen Vikings behind him. The surviving Vikings return to their leader and report that Ghost has fled. Enraged, the leader commands them to follow his trail. "He will lead us to another tribe," the leader declares. "We will slaughter them all too." Meanwhile, Ghost stumbles through the wilderness until he collapses near the entrance of a cave. Members of the mountain tribe soon discover him. Their leader, Pathfinder, recognizes Ghost and orders his people to help. Though badly wounded, Ghost pleads with them, "Don't take me with you." But they ignore his warnings, carrying him back to their village to tend to his injuries. When Ghost finally regains consciousness, he urgently tells Pathfinder and the tribe what happened. "The Vikings attacked my people," he says. "They killed everyone. They'll follow my trail and they're coming here next. We need to leave this place immediately." However, Blackwing, a warrior who distrusts Ghost, scoffs at the warning. "We are not cowards who run from our enemies. We will fight those devils." Ghost, frustrated, takes his sword and cuts Blackwing's spear in half. "You don't understand," he says. "They use swords and wear heavy armor. Your spears won't pierce their shields or their iron plates." Despite Ghost's passionate plea, the tribe refuses to flee. Feeling helpless, he leaves the village alone. The next morning, the mountain tribe sees the truth for themselves. When they reach the Ghost village, they find only ruin and death, the devastation Ghost had warned them about. Still, Blackwing stubbornly insists on facing the Vikings head-on. At the same time, Pathfinder's daughter Starfire approaches Ghost. Knowing his strength and courage, she says, "Our people have decided to face the Vikings. We need you to stand with us." Moved by her plea and his own sense of loyalty, Ghost agrees. He joins the warriors preparing for battle. Following their tradition, the tribe sends the elderly, women and children into the safety of the mountains while the remaining warriors stay behind to defend their land. Ghost devises a strategy. They will avoid direct confrontation and instead use stealth and cunning to strike from the shadows. When the Vikings march toward the tribe, Ghost and the warriors ambush them, killing many. However, in a tragic turn of events, a trap Ghost had set backfires, ensnaring some of his own people. The Vikings seize the opportunity, launch a brutal attack, and kill several members of the tribe. Panic spreads and the survivors flee toward the mountain caves. The Vikings pursue them, capturing many, including Pathfinder, Starfire, and other key members of the tribe. When the Viking leader finally confronts Ghost, a flicker of recognition crosses his face. "You look like us," he says, narrowing his eyes. "You know our language." The leader steps closer, his voice filled with certainty. 15 years ago, we came to these shores. A great chieftain led us, and his son was with him, a brave boy. We thought the child died, but I see now that he survived. You are that boy." Ghost, filled with fury and pain, denies it. "I am not one of you," he says firmly. The Viking leader's face hardens. "If you will not join us, you are my enemy." Demanding to know the location of the remaining tribespeople, the Viking leader questions Ghost, but he remains silent. Enraged, the leader kills Pathfinder in front of him. Turning to Starfire, he demands answers, but she too refuses to speak. Just as the leader is about to kill her, Ghost finally speaks. "I will take you to them," he says, knowing that refusing would mean certain death for Starfire and the others. Though furious, Starfire understands the difficult choice Ghost has made. He leads the Vikings to the abandoned village where the tribe had once lived, knowing full well that no one remains there. As the Vikings search the empty settlement, they find only silence and cold ashes. As they continue their journey, Ghost leads the Vikings through the desolate land. Along the way, some Vikings attempt to force themselves on Starfire, but Ghost intervenes just in time, standing his ground. He's prepared to fight, but the Vikings, though willing to kill him, are restrained by their leader, who forbids it. The group presses on, and Ghost takes them to another tribe's village, another empty settlement. Ghost knows well that no one is here, and his plan continues. The Viking leader grows furious upon seeing the abandoned village and demands to know where everyone has gone. Ghost calmly responds, "Perhaps they've moved east. We must follow that direction." The leader of the Vikings, now even more irate, turns his attention to Starfire, threatening her life. In a quick move, Ghost throws a doll he had found in the previous village onto the ground. One of the Vikings picks it up and informs the leader. The doll convinces the Viking leader that the villagers must have gone east and head in that direction. Their journey leads them to a frozen lake. Ghost warns them, "The ice is too thin. We should take the longer path through the forest." But the Viking leader, determined to press on, insists that they cross the lake. Ghost reluctantly takes the lead, cautiously stepping onto the ice. As he moves, he senses the danger. The ice beneath them is dangerously thin. The worst happens. The ice cracks, and Ghost, along with several Vikings, falls through the freezing water. After narrowly escaping the icy waters, they push forward into the snow-covered mountains, struggling through the harsh conditions. Along the way, they come across the frozen bodies of villagers who had perished in the snow, reinforcing to the Viking leader that they are on the right track. The narrow mountain paths and relentless snowstorm slow their progress, and a Viking falls from the top of a steep hill. Seeing this, the Viking leader grows more anxious. "We must work together," he commands. "We can't afford to lose anyone else." The tension escalates as the Viking leader ties Starfire to himself, calculating that if anyone were to fall, the others could catch them. But his twisted logic also means that if he were to fall, Starfire would die with him. With Starfire now bound to him, they proceed cautiously, moving through the treacherous terrain in search of a safer spot. Starfire, understanding Ghost's plan to weaken the Vikings' hold on her, quietly approaches him. She makes a bold move, attacking Ghost. In her heart, she knows this is a calculated part of his strategy. As Ghost falls, seemingly defeated, the Viking leader approaches with a whip, calling for Ghost to be punished. He demands that Ghost be brought into their fold, saying, "You are one of us now. You are a Viking." But Ghost, playing his part, takes the whip from the leader's hand with a swift motion and instead hurls a stone at the Viking tied to the rope with him. The stone strikes the Viking, sending him tumbling over the cliff. As he falls, the other Vikings who were tied to him also plummet, and the rope, now severed, unravels. The leader of the Vikings is left in a vulnerable position, now facing Ghost. In the chaos, Ghost seizes the opportunity, attacking the leader. But before the situation escalates, Starfire leaps on top of Ghost, injuring his ear. Taking advantage of the distraction, Ghost quickly cuts the rope binding Starfire to the Viking leader, freeing her from her forced captivity. Pushes the Viking leader down, sending him hurtling toward the bottom of the cliff. But the same rope traps Ghost, pulling him with the leader. As they dangle precariously, the remaining Viking, hoping to save himself, severs the rope, throwing one of his comrades to his death. Now only the Viking leader and Ghost are left hanging by the frayed rope. Ghost is beneath the leader, his sword lost in the struggle. The leader, realizing Ghost's strength and defiance, begins to throw large stones from above. In a final plea, Ghost warns Starfire, "Move away from there!" he shouts, causing an avalanche of snow to cascade down from above. The snow forces both Ghost and the Viking leader to lose their grip, sending them tumbling downward into a vicious clash. The battle for survival begins in earnest, a fight between two fierce warriors, each determined to emerge victorious. Ghost, now armed with his sword once more, faces the Viking leader in a final showdown. The leader, weakened and realizing the end is near, gazes into Ghost's eyes and asks with a grim acceptance, "Are you one of us? Will you kill me?" Ghost's response is clear and resolute, "I am not one of you." With those words, he strikes the fatal blow, sending the Viking leader plummeting down the cliff to his death. After the fight, Ghost, alongside Starfire, makes his way to the shore of a serene lake. Here they find the surviving members of the tribe who had taken shelter. When they see Ghost and Starfire, they bow in reverence, knowing full well that Ghost is the one who ended the Viking threat. Grateful and awestruck, they come together to crown him as their new leader, the pathfinder of their tribe, a symbol of hope and resilience. However, Ghost, always vigilant, senses that their fight is far from over. He knows that more Vikings may come, and he must be ready to protect his people. With a determined resolve, he walks toward the sea, preparing for the next chapter of his leadership. And with that, the story comes to an end.